Thanks to oxygen bubbles found trapped in fossilized amber that was created at the time of the flood, not millions of years ago, they've actually tapped into them in these air bubbles and they've measured them, okay, and they've actually found that the pre-flood world's atmosphere contained much more oxygen than what we have today. The plasma in your bloodstream will get oxygen saturated, which means you can run for hundreds of miles without ever getting tired. Modern medicine is finally catching up with called hyperbaric oxygen therapy or chambers. Have you heard that? A lot of people are starting to use it, okay? And what they do is they place people in these chambers that provide not just more oxygen, but pressurized oxygen, and they subject the human body to it over time. And not so surprisingly, the results are amazing. They've been able to heal Lyme disease, strokes, migraines, multiple sclerosis, autism, abscesses, certain amounts of hearing loss, all kinds of things, just to name a few. In fact, so promising are the results that even some celebrity and professional sports teams are using them to provide rapid healing for their players. Can you imagine a whole world like that? Can you imagine our whole planet being a hyperbaric oxygen chamber 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, okay? That's what the pre-flood world was like.
We have measured the effects of a pulsed electromagnetic field on biological systems. We have these Pacu piranha fish that normally at 3.5 years of age are about this size under optimal conditions. Yet we have them now in excess of 20 inches, weighing just under 5 pounds each. Under these controlled conditions, we have succeeded in producing giantism at an accelerated rate.
Isn't that wild? Put it to the test. All of a sudden, things get bigger. Very interesting. Oh, by the way, he said he was also able to triple the lifespans of fruit flies, okay? And he was able even to reverse some of the negative effects of the curse. Listen to this. He was able to change the molecular structure of the venom of a copperhead snake into a non-toxic state after just 4 weeks in a hyperbaric oxygen chamber. In fact, even NASA decided to put this to the test to see if they could utilize it for the space program. And one such experiment involved 3 scientists living in the ocean floor in a biosphere. They stayed in there about 1 to 3 months, and quote, and this is from the report, quote, when they left, they were all middle-aged with graying hair and low libidos. When they returned, their hair was clear of gray, their wrinkles had started to disappear, and quote, their sex drive had so increased that their wives complained about it to NASA. That's the report. Okay, it turns out that certain glands and organs were reactivated, and blood test shows unusual level of hormones, okay, that are normally associated with growth in young children. Okay, in fact, it was further speculated that what would happen if you took this knowledge and built a room with this kind of atmosphere and slept in it for 8 hours a day. I'm not making this up. This is from the report from NASA. The man from NASA said, quote, for every day spent in there, 1 year would be added onto your life until you maxed out about 1,000 years old. How old was Methuselah? The pre-flood world and its conditions have not only been experimented on humans and animals, okay, but it's even been used on plants. Okay, they subject plants. All right, let's see what happens when we put these conditions on plants. Amazing results. Let me give you a couple examples. One is this guy, Dr. Kei Mori of Tokyo, Japan. He started raising a cherry tomato plant in his basement. Not a regular tomato plant, a cherry tomato plant. You know the little ones you put on a salad, right? Well, plants need light, and this is in the basement. So he took a fiber optic cable and ran it down from the roof to the plants. And immediately his cherry tomato plant began to grow abnormally fast. And so he thought, because it's in the basement, so it's shielded from the sun, but he was able to get light to it. Remember the pre-flood atmosphere. So he thought, well, you know what? I wonder if the fiber optic cable is blocking out the harmful UV light, right? It's only getting good light, so to speak, okay? And so he put a plastic shield over the plant to further block out the UV light, and then he moved it into a laboratory. And then he decided to pressurize the stem of the plant with carbon dioxide, right? So now you're increasing the pressure. And he didn't do it with the whole plant. He just, which would have been better, he just did it to the stem of the plant. The results were amazing. Listen to this. After 2 years, his cherry tomato plant was 16 feet tall and produced 900 tomatoes. They were still not done, though. And by the way, his tomatoes were the size of baseballs from a cherry tomato plant. They were huge. So eventually, they moved it into a shopping center. And they built an even bigger plastic shield over it and the scaffolding to hold the branches up now. And the last report shared that his cherry tomato plant was now 40 feet tall, produces 15,000 tomatoes every single year. Trees today that only grow a few feet, the exact same trees in the flood, in the fossil record, they grow 100 feet.